And then when everyone else looks at him, Gori and Washimi are like, his head looks like a toasted marshmallow.
It's so funny. Like, mood Aggretsuko. Like, sometimes you just see a man and you have one good conversation and your standards for men are so fucking low that you're like, he's the one.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla.
And this week we watched the 2018 animated series Aggretsuko. We'll talk toxic workplaces, office romance, and trying to escape our capitalist nightmares by marrying into money. Remember, you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, signing up for our newsletter, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. Leyla, so do you want to tell me how you got into Aggretsuko?
It was just another one of those things, honest to God, where I was like looking for background noise and I started watching it and then it caught my attention. Mm-hmm. And I've loved the first season ever since.
Yeah, you recommended this to me. You had been tweeting about it a couple years ago, I think, and about how much you loved it. And when you brought this up, I was looking forward to it. And for a quick summary, Aggretsuko is the story of a young fox named Retsuko who works in Tokyo as an accountant. And she's got a colorful cast of coworkers, a shitty boss, and she's just trying to, make it through life. She's really living that millennial or late millennial lifestyle of graduating and just trying to get through her day. And she also has a secret, which is that she is very good at death metal karaoke, and that's how she uses, that's how she relieves stress to get out of her bad job, get rid of stress from her terrible job. She sings death metal karaoke, and over the course of the first season, we see how she adapts to dealing with her terrible boss. We meet her coworkers, and we see how her death metal singing gives her strength to get through some sort of precarious situations. But I really think the strength of this show is in its cast of characters and how, like, the way that they act is relatable. You described it to me as, like, everybody in Aggretsuko, like, everyone has had these coworkers. And I think that's such an apt description because I was like, oh yeah, no, I know every single one of these people, except for maybe the hippo, but only there at the end.
My only note is that she's a red panda, and I say that only for future armchair sleuths.
Okay, yeah.
Who come at us in 10 years that are like, she's not a fox, and then we won't even know what they're talking about. But anyway, yeah, I have worked with every single one of those people. Hippo, sans espionage included.
Yeah, you definitely, like, when I was taking notes, I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely identify. My favorite was the hyena Haida and the other. I think she is a fox, Feneko, who's like the social media stalker. And I was like, those are the people that I want to be friends with. I love that Feneko's like first instinct is to social media stalk everybody and just like be up on their personal business. I thought that was really, really fun. But
hey, listen, I'm gonna regret saying this 15 seconds after I say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If you have a friend who you're like, that's Haida, DM me. I will give you my phone number.
Oh no.
I want to marry that fucking hyena. Are you fucking kidding me? And here's why I'm telling you you're a friend. Because if you think you're Haida, you're not Haida. I need you to be fucking Queer Eye style, recommended to me by a friend, and I will probably marry you. Like, me and Retsuko, Scorpios. Well, I was 25 when I first saw the show. I'm 26, going on 27. That's okay. I'm almost in the Elizabethan burden age. But yeah, listen, if you want just like a slightly angry baker, DM me. I love Haida so much. Justice for Haida after this fucking season.
Oh, does Haida get shafted after this season?
So much happens to my poor, beautiful hyena husband.
Oh, man. Well, I'm probably not going to watch the rest of, Aggretsuko, but I prefer to live in the world where he and Retsuko get together after the end of the season. And we'll talk about...
I'll let you know when that happens.
Okay, yeah. We'll talk about the end of Aggretsuko season 1 because I thought that it ended on a really nice note. But yeah, like I feel like these characters are infinitely relatable. Like you always have like I think the most interesting one actually is the deer whose name is Sonoda, I believe.
Oh my god, Sonoda.
And at first she's introduced as like this really irritating suck up, like she's just like, oh, Mr. Tone, you're doing so good at golf at your job. And also, yeah, the boss is a pig, which like, hey, there's some fat phobia in there and we're not psyched about that. But you know, I wanted to mention that. But anyway, she's like, oh, Mr. Tone, you're doing so good at your golfing during your job. And she's like constantly sucking up to him. But like later on in the season, Retsuko's just like, Sonoda, how do you do it? How do you like, you know, get through the day and like, why do you stick up to them so much? And she's like, oh no, I'm doing that on purpose. Like I do that so that way, like it you know, it gives me a little bit of agency and it helps me, you know, make the day less shitty for everyone. And I really liked that portrayal of her. I liked that how it gave intentionality to her actions. It's not just like, ugh, it's just the shitty coworker who's sucking up. It made it like it made her not like a damsel in distress sort of deal, but like an actual, like an agent, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I think Sonoda's possibly slightly more insane than Feneko. Because if you think about it, Feneko has this whole sequence in the beginning that is a riot where she's just like calculating down on the formula how often what the patterns are of Tsunoda's like thigh pic posting.
Oh yeah.
Which is great. And then I think Tsunoda knows she's doing it too, which is even better. She's so fucking funny. Oh my god. I just and I love that like when her and Retsuko have dinner, like Feneko is just constantly stalking Retsuko via Instagram, and she like constantly knows all this shit.
Mm-hmm. Like she finds out when she starts doing yoga, and she finds out, you know, when she does have that meeting with Sonoda, and then like she gives her shit for it the whole time. It's really, really good.
It's excellent. And also Feneko just like jumping to the worst possible conclusion about any of that.
Yeah.
She has Haida thinking Retsuko's dead when she just like goes to eat lunch by herself.
Yeah, she's like, oh well, she could have thrown herself off the building. And Haida's like, excuse me, why did you say that?
No, oh my god, but speaking of like Haida having to react to these situations, there's nothing better than Retsuko lying to, oh my god, what is the hippo's name?
I don't know. I'll Google it. But yeah, like I know where you're going with this. Like she was out.
She was with Puko, and she was talking about her business.
Oh yeah.
And so she gets into work really, really happy the next day, and the hippo's just like, like, what's going on, Retsuko? Like, you're so happy, you're photocopying your face, smiling, like. And Retsuko just has this inner monologue. Like, fuck, I can't fucking tell her I'm gonna quit. Like, this is awful. It'll get to Tone by the end of the day. She gossips so much. So she tells her she was constipated for 5 days. And then somehow that telephones and Haida just runs up to her in the dead middle of the office. It's like, Retsuko, did you have a baby yesterday?
And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I heard the delivery was really rough.
Oh my god, peak comedy, honestly. The beginning of that season is nothing but fucking hits on hits.
Mm-hmm. That was really good. Kabe is the name of the hippopotamus. She's really
Her
funny.
voice actress is so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's good shit. The gosh, there is one part at the beginning of like one of the first couple episodes of season 1 where we meet this other she's not like the boss, but she is like kind of like a pseudo boss to Retsuko, the snake lady.
Oh my god.
And this is when it started to get a little bit too real for me, because this snake lady is like giving Retsuko this lecture about workplace like culture and like and wellness, and she's like, oh, you gotta take care of yourself, you gotta practice self-care, have you been sleeping enough, have you been eating well? And then like all the while she's just like slamming her on the head with more paperwork that she has to get done. And I was like, oh, this is like a pretty accurate portrayal of what it's like to be in a workplace where they're like, all of our employees are sad and I don't understand why. While all the meantime just like completely smashing them over the head with more paperwork. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the imagery is just so fucking crystalline. Like, honestly, watching the show is just a surreal experience because there are these, like, cool little, cute little Sanrio characters, like, running around doing all this shit. And then you're sitting there and, like, Retsuko has to work overtime, and it's just, you're sitting there, you're like, oh my god, I have had this conversation before that led to me doing overtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the wildest deja vu in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was thinking of, when I worked in the hospital, like, there was, like, a week where people were, like, doing interviews from corporate, were doing interviews, and they're like, hey, so we noticed that, you know, there's been a lot of burnout and turnover on this floor, and we're just, like, wondering what's going on, and, like, oh, hey, we're offering massages, you know, in room 480, if you can, you know, if you want to, you know, use your lunch break, you know, if you have to, but don't forget about your patients though, because that's a bit also important, and you know, we're short staffed, so if you could just you know, if anybody wants to work an extra 4-hour shift on top of their 12, you know, just let me know. It's just like, yeah, that's pretty accurate, and I think that, like, especially because this show takes place in Japan, like, that's even further exacerbated because, like, I mean, American work culture sucks, but Japan work culture, I've heard, sucks even more. And, like, I think that's especially true in the way that we see Retsuko interact with her boss, Mr. Tone. Because there's, like, that weird sequence where, like, I don't know, like, at first it's like, oh, is that a cultural thing? Are, like, bosses allowed to have their people, like, refill the humidifiers and, like, get them tea? And I don't think that's the case, because it becomes, like, a harassment issue. But later on, like, they're talking about how they, like, go out drinking together, and that's like, oh, I don't know that that's a thing. Like, in America, like, I don't know. I would feel very uncomfortable going out to drink socially with my bosses in most jobs that I've had.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the closest I've ever gotten have been, like, holiday parties.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, like, it does become a harassment issue, but then you're watching it, you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I had to help my boss with her divorce proceedings once. And I was just like, you know, it's not the same as refilling a humidifier, but when you're watching something like that from the outside, you're just sitting there in this, like, daze, like, oh, that was really bad what happened.
Sorry, you had to help your boss with their divorce?
Yeah, I had to help my boss with their fucking divorce. I wish I was fucking kidding. I got a phone call to my cell phone in the middle of my work day, and it was my boss, and I was working $15 an hour, managing an entire office.
Great. Good.
Yeah, yeah, I think about that story all the fucking time. I'm like, why?
That's
why did you make me do that?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you got out very quickly.
I did. I wasn't there very long, thankfully.
Yeah. Another thing that later on in the season we learn is that Retsuko starts to make friends with some of the higher ups at the office, specifically the cool boss ladies Gori and Washimi. Gori is like a big gorilla, and Washimi is some sort of stork or crane.
She's a secretary bird.
Oh.
Think about how fucking funny that is.
I'm just in stitches.
Let that sink in, that she's a fucking secretary bird, because it had me rolling for a couple of days.
Alright. Well... yeah, but I like the way that this show, like, tries to show how women in like, you know, difficult office situations will, like, band together in order to, like, protect each other. And, like, that goes various ways, at least in season 1. Like, at first they meet at yoga and they become friends and they're, like, hanging out. But then, like, as they go to karaoke and you become closer... you know, Retsuko discloses that, like, Mr. Tone is, you know, making her do all this shit and, you know, making her do stuff that she shouldn't have to do for her job. And Washimi, like, goes and talks to the CEO, and there's, like, a very fun sequence where the CEO is, like, who was going to charge, like, 300,000 yen to the company for, like, building a model like, noodle slide or something in his office, and Washimi's like, you aren't gonna do that. What you are gonna do is deal with this harassment issue. And, like, I think it's very typical of like a CEO structure for like people to like complain about harassment in an office or any sort of corporate structure, and the CEO to be like, okay, I'll talk to them, and then it like gets worse because you talked about it.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me, and it escalated very quickly, and the police got involved, and it was a whole thing. So, you know, that's... Whisper networks are real, and women do try their best, and sometimes it backfires.
Leyla, I think...
Let's not okay.
Let's step out of the podcast. How are you doing? I've noticed a pattern in the past 5 minutes of you telling some really fucked up stories about jobs. Are you good?
No!
Oh, Leyla.
Oh, Aaron. Yeah, being a woman's great.
Yeah, it seems like a cool and chill time.
Yeah. Oof, man. See, that's the thing. I think that's why I like this show so fucking much, is like, life is hard and serious sometimes, especially when you're a woman, and like, yeah, it's funny to hear a pig say that shit's woman's work and like make comments about Retsuko getting married, because life is so weird that you're just like, yeah, this is fucking looks ridiculous from the outside, and of course he's a fucking pig. Like, this shit happens all the time. Oh man, honestly, it's just a relief to me to see it made light of, and I'm pretty sure the showrunner is a woman. I don't know, I'll Google it later. But, like, I don't know, it's just funny, because anytime dudes try to make, like, a preachy office comedy and, like, be like, harassment is bad, it's never funny, because it's, like, serious, and, like, people don't really know what actually makes women uncomfortable, and, like, how ridiculous it actually is. But, like, seeing Tone just, like, make her... Or what does he do? He, like, yells at her because she held the label on the bottle wrong when they were out drinking, and she's so pissed about it when she's out drinking with Puko. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happens. They make some benign comment, and then 4 fucking months later, I'm drunk with my friends, and I'm like, that son of a bitch! It's just, I don't know, it's funny. I love it. I love it. Peak humor for me is just like... really serious workplace bullshit I've had to face being made fun of by people who know what that feels like, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And, like, I don't like crying, so it's just all funnies for me.
Well, there's no graceful way to transition out of this, so,
No, we could just start talking about Space Cadet if you want, because he fucking sucked.
Let me think.
Or is there something in there before
I wanted to get to Space Cadet at the end...
we haven't talked about yoga to get hot and get married.
Yes, okay. So, like, that's what I was going to do. I was going to say, so, like, I was glad you brought up marriage earlier, because, like, the reason Retsuko does go to yoga is because she's, like, having this fantasy about, like, getting a hot body and from yoga, and then, going to get married, like, attracting a man to, you know, work for her. And, like, I like the progression this takes for her to take, like, this logical step, because at first she's, like, she talks to her friend who is going to open this import store. And, like, haven't we all had, like, that friend who, like, has a really earnest, like, idea to, like, start a business, and you're like, oh, this is going nowhere. I love you, but this isn't going to work. And you're just like, yeah, definitely. And then, but, like, also you kind of want it to succeed, because you're just like, oh, maybe I could get out of my bad situation if this worked. And I felt really sympathetic for Retsuko in that moment.
Yeah, for fucking sure. And, like, Retsuko, in the sense of, like, getting hot and getting married, she's right, but she's wrong, right? And, like, ladies, you feel me? She's, like, wrong because in our big brains we're, like, good feminists, and we're like, Retsuko, you gotta just, like, be yourself and, like, succeed on your own and just get out of this situation. But then, like, y'all, we were all raised with a certain expectation, and let me tell you, there have been moments where I looked at myself in the mirror and I go, man, if I could just, like, get an ass and just marry out of the fucking hell I'm in, I would do it. I would even shave my legs. Like, sometimes you give in to the dark side of matrimony, and, like, I like, if just you know, someday, just all you have to think about is Retsuko in her screaming rage, just screaming matrimonial freedom.
Matrimonial freedom! Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel about it. She's wrong, because we're good feminists, but she's right.
Listen, when you exist in a capitalistic structure like we do, I mean, you gotta play all angles. I don't blame anyone for wanting to do that. But like what happens is after she like starts going to these meetings, she meets the two boss ladies who are very cool. And we can talk about Gori and Washimi in a second. But like the yoga is is led by this fitness kangaroo who is hysterical because all he said. He only says one word, and it's protein. And, like, during the whole yoga lesson, he just does push-ups for, like, the solid, like, hour while his assistant actually leads them through the stuff. But he's just like, protein, protein, protein. But, there's, like, a really funny part where he, like, like, they take Gori and Washimi because they notice Feneko, and, like, at first they're really intimidating because they're professional business ladies. Or not Feneko, but Retsuko is like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. They're all too high up. I don't want to be, I don't want to like talk to them. But then later, Gori and Washimi approach her, and they hit it up. And they, Retsuko finds that she has a kindred spirit with them, and they go to do karaoke, which is like Retsuko's secret, cool off thing. And like they're like, oh, because Retsuko doesn't want to reveal her death metal secret. And so she's just like sort of, equivocating and being a pushover and like being like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then from across the city, Fitness Kangaroo like telepathically sends the message of like the code, the karaoke code number to Gori. And she's like, oh, 91887 or something. And then she's like, oh, I've received a message from Fitness Kangaroo. And that's how they unlock Retsuko's death metal and they become closer friends. And I love that sequence because like that's why you watch animated shows, is like for dumb stuff like that.
It's so just like beautifully absurd that like Gori has this psychic connection with this like beef kangaroo.
Yeah.
It delights me. Honestly, you're right. It is literally one of the funniest fucking parts of the show is just that king. But also just like the way Feneko finds out about the yoga thing is so funny because she finds someone else's selfie and she shows it to Haida and she goes, and look, Retsuko butt. Like, it's just...
I would know that ass anywhere.
It's just so good. I love the yoga sequences. They make me so fucking happy. And they also legitimize the fact that yoga is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I've done yoga a couple times in my life, and I've always been sore after it. It's very hard.
Yeah, I've been doing it for like 7 years on and off, and I only just now am I getting comfortable in down dog.
Oh, man. So at one point, they're going to the karaoke because it becomes like a regular thing for Gori, Washimi, and Retsuko. And at one point, Retsuko is talking to them. It's after this party. They go drinking, and then Retsuko reveals on accident that she complained about tone to them, and he like does a rap battle to her, which is we can't even get into that rap battle, but it was so wild. But Retsuko defeats him by singing death metal, and he's like drunk the next day, so he doesn't remember it. But later on, like, they were talking about that, and then Retsuko turns to Washimi and she's like, maybe we should talk about the fact that Gori turned to stone. And because Gori's just sitting there just like a statue, a literal statue. And Washimi's like, it's a ton of trouble. I don't want to deal with it. And it's later revealed that Gori got her heart broken by someone. And, they have a sleepover, Retsuko and Gori. And it's a very adorable sleepover. But Gori ends up asking Retsuko about like somebody, if she's interested in anyone. And later on, Retsuko gets invited by the Deer Lady, to this singles party at the company. And it's there she meets the Space Cadet. And like, we'll get to Space Cadet, but like with the way that Haida and Feneko prepare her for this party is very, like, I don't know if it's endearing or not. I've never had the experience of my friends being worried about, people creeping on me, but like you know, it's between like Haida, who's like in love with Retsuko, being like, Feniko, you got to make sure that nobody, you know, hooks up with her, and Feniko being like, if any randos get in your personal space, they're dead. And I was like, yeah, that does remind me of undergrad and going with my female friends to nightclubs and like having to form like fucking phalanxes around them to prevent them from being mobbed by randos.
Oh my god, yeah, no, it's for sure just like, it was like a text me when you get home short of too real.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, because that's what you do, man. You gotta fucking military strategy it every time you want to leave the house. It's just a thing. And Haida, and you know what's funny is like Haida doesn't ever ask Feniko to like watch out for her. Feniko is just like, no, buddy, I fucking got you. No one's gonna fucking touch her. And then she gets in there, she has too much to drink and too much fun, and she gets flirted with, and she's like, that's fucking rule.
Yeah, I like that part a lot because like Feniko is just like being really grumpy the whole time, and there's like this big jaguar dude, and he's like, oh wow, you're a Spitfire, and she's like, yeah, so what? And he's like, that's kind of hot, and then she's like, oh, wait a second. I like being complimented. I'm totally into this now. Just complete 180. I was like, yes, everyone is weak for being called hot. Like, that's it works on everyone.
Honestly, mood. It does. It works on everyone.
Listen, if anyone calls you hot, you instantly like them. Even if you don't like them, it's like, well, at least they recognize that I'm great.
Yeah, no, precisely. Like, if somebody calls you hot, it's like, all right, well, hell yeah, I am. Thank you very much for recognizing my talents. Oh, man.
So at this party, though, right, Feniko gets distracted by Big Boofy Hyena Man, and Retsuko is sitting across from this other, I guess he's also a red panda.
He is also a red panda.
They call him, his name is Risasuke, which is, something. We can't...
A portend of things to come.
Yeah, we can't... That's our one Naruto reference for this episode, but,
Believe it.
Nope. Oh, gotta scrap the podcast. So, like, they call him the Space Cadet because he, like, never gets his work done properly, and, like, he's always just, like, spacing out and daydreaming, and Retsuko realizes that, like, he's on the same train as her, and, like, one day, like, they're, like, she sees him on the train, and she gets off at the work stop, and then she realizes that he's just, like, staring out the window, and misses getting off the stop, and she's like, what was that about? But, like, at this party, they start texting and, like, talking, and then Retsuko realizes that, you know, he's, you know, kind of nice and cute. But then Retsuko realizes she's had too much to drink, and she barfs, and Space Cadet gives her his handkerchief. And later on, when she's revealing to Gori and Washimi that she likes this guy, what was the quote? It's, a bunch of us went drinking and I barfed and he was super nice to me. And I was like, you gotta raise your standards, girl. Like, come on.
No, for sure. And, like, I have been both Retsuko and Washimi in this situation where, like, I have been the one impressed by an unimpressive man, and then I have also seen my friends be impressed by unimpressive men, and it is painful on both fucking ends. Like, there's nothing more real to me than Retsuko, the way Retsuko looks at Risasuke, because, like, the animation style changes, and when she looks at him, he's like this very handsome, like Bishonen.
Oh yes, exactly. Like his eyes change and becomes like really dreamy. And then when everyone else looks at him, Gori and Washimi are like, his head looks like a toasted marshmallow.
It's so funny. Like I mood Retsuko. Like, sometimes you just see a man and you have one good conversation and your standards for men are so fucking low that you're like, he's the one. And then, like, you just sell your time to this idiot. And I think, honestly, like, the fact that he drags her around and her, like, breaking point is just these blisters in these shoes that she's wearing is fucking poetic cinema. Because that's what it is just putting on that mask for that person just keeps rubbing at you until you cannot take it anymore. And I honestly, like, it took too long for her to dump him, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But Gori and Washimi were fucking right to just let her fail.
Mm-hmm. Because that's the thing. Like, I mean, I've I've never I've only really seriously dated one person ever, and I'm married to her now. So I'm always the Wishimi who like looks at I have a lot of female friends and like I always have to be like, girl, please do better, you're killing me. So like I definitely sympathize with that, but like it's always like, hey, you have to let them figure it out for themselves, like, because no amount of being like, hey, your boyfriend actually sucks will convince them that their boyfriend does in fact actually suck. And like I just, like you're saying, like they go on a date to an amusement park and Retsuko's like, oh, I'm having such a good time, but literally she's like, oh, do you want to like get something to eat? And he's like, no, I'm not tired. And she's like, oh, okay, well, my feet are literally bleeding, but let's keep walking through Disneyland. And then, like, later on, like, there's fireworks and they're all watching them. And she's like, oh, this is so nice. Oh, the wind is so cold. And she's like, wow, it's really chilly, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, good thing I brought this jacket. That's just like, oh, God, he's so fucking stupid.
It's so painful to watch. But, like, I've been there, girl. I've been stupid for stupid. Listen. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. Sometimes you just have to fucking cope with the fact that your brain is having a lapse, and hopefully you get out of it in one piece. I do have a point of pride, though. I have been right about every single one of my friends' boyfriends. I have been right every time. And I have stopped saying anything because sometimes me being right pisses them off. But I have been right every time. And I will continue to be right. And that is my excuse for being single and not at all my unpleasant personality.
Well, you gotta have a superpower. But they're talking to her at yoga, and she's like, wow, I'm down 6.5 pounds. And then Wishimi and Gori are like, that's because he's literally walking you to death. And it goes to like a really, really dark place because at work she's like completely out of it, and she goes to the bathroom again, and like she's like, when I count to 10, I'll be a happy girlfriend. And I was like, oh my God, like, and she just, that's her mantra for like that week, and it's really, really upsetting. And what is very strange is that they make Tone the person to be like the person that gives her this advice, which is like, hey, you can't like put all your effort into one person, like otherwise it's gonna go bad, which I didn't appreciate because like they try to paint him as a sympathetic character when he's still like a shitty boss, and like that doesn't deserve sympathy. But one piece of good advice doesn't redeem you, but whatever. But also, that's where we get the reveal that the hippo was a spy, which is really funny, and I don't know why they included it, but I love it so much.
It's bizarre, and it's everything. But that's also where we find out Haida's in the hospital with pneumonia.
Oh yeah, because he's like cursing her new boyfriend as he slips and falls in the rain,
and then just lays there like a love-struck idiot.
Yeah, he's great.
He's an angel. He deserves so much better.
Oh, Haida.
Haida.
But yeah, at the end of the season, like she goes and takes her space cadet to the karaoke place, and she like performs the death metal for him. And like the worst thing he does, in my opinion, is like he's just like, wow, you're a good singer. But you should keep singing because I'm no good at this. Just like that's his only reaction to like her soulful, like incredible, passionate death metal verse. It's just like, oh yeah, you just keep doing it because I don't want to do this. Like, ugh, disgusting.
Yeah, and he just like goes home to his plants, and I'm like, I've met you. I know you. I've met so many of you. It's just, it's fucking. This show is both. Like, it goes from the hippo was a spy all along to, like, Tone versus Retsuko, like, epic rap battle version 4 to, oh, fuck me, I've been here. Like, it does so at mock speeds. Like, it's such whiplash, but it's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And the last thing that closed out the season was when Retsuko goes to visit Haida in the hospital. They have a conversation about how Haida feels about her, and Haida admits that he's into her, and like he admits that he doesn't really know her. He just has this idealized version of her in his mind, and like I wish that I could show like that 20, maybe 30 seconds of footage to like every man I knew in high school, just be like, hey, bro, this is incredibly important relationship advice.
Yeah, and it's about being in love with a version of someone that you've idealized in your head. But the brave thing he does is he says that, like, I want to get to know the real you, which I'm like, you sweet little fucking nug. Of course you do, you goddamn cute-ass bastard. Yeah, it's really, it's really important. And I think, like, we've brushed on the dangers of being a woman, or at least perceived as a woman, in the real world, but, like, and this isn't, like, a danger thing, this is just kind of a pet peeve. But I think, like, in my old age, part of the reason I'm so, like, I don't know, I don't put on a mask for anyone anymore, and I think part of the reasons that fear of, like, someone is going to, either in a romantic sense or in just a friendship sense, is going to idealize you and then be disappointed by the reality. So, like, it's just so much effort to, like, put on those masks and then to have to dismantle that in every relationship, that I see people who are either full mask all the time, or there's people like me who are just, we can only be ourselves, and that's okay too. But I think you're right. I think there was, like, a lovely end note to the season. And the thing that pisses me off about it is that Aggretsuko literally says, well, if you just don't ask me, then I can't give you an answer. And I'm like, why would you prompt him if the first thing we learn in the Christmas special is that you fucking turned him down?
Oh, is that true? Is that what happens?
Oh my god, yeah, the Christmas special is fucking terrible. She tries to become an influencer.
Oh, no.
And season 2, also bad. She, like, gets with an Elon Musk type and lives in his car for 3 months. It is wild.
Yeah, probably won't be following up on that one.
No, just keep it to your beautiful memories of yoga and protein in season 1.
I think I will do that. Are there any other points you want to hit?
I think that this is the best Office comedy I've ever seen. I mean, like, I love Parks and Rec. I'm not a big fan of The Office, but, like, I think an Office comedy written from the perspective of just, like, a very tired woman millennial is very funny because, yeah, sure, like, ha 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 ha, Jim put the stapler in Jello again. Great. There is nothing quite like a tiny red panda with the rage character written on her forehead screaming, "You're a shitty boss!" over and over in her boss's face, physically blowing all of her coworkers out of the fucking room, and then the door opens and the fucking waiter's like, "You guys want to order something else?"
And everyone is dead.
Peak comedy.
Yeah.
So, if you need an Office comedy for background noise, man, watch Aggretsuko. It's just season 1, though. It's so fucking funny. It's so good. And I love it very much, and I do rewatch it when I'm sad sometimes.
Excellent. So next week, are we doing Shaman King next week?
Unless you have something else, we're in Shaman King town, baby.
Okay, let's, Shaman King is an anime that I watched when I was 10 years old. So I don't know if it's any good. Well,
we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I remember it being cool, but we'll see. But yeah, that's we'll just be doing the first 20 episodes of that because, like, it's an anime, so it has 1 billion episodes, and we don't need to watch all of that. But it'll give us a good sampling of the Shaman King flavor, and I bet there'll be at least one character you're like, yes, my shitty son, I love him. So.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But no, I'm sure that, I think you're correct. I think there will be at least one son, and I will love him.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we will find out next week how that goes. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at LEYLSES. On Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, you can read my comic, astralheartcomic.com. It is on a brief hiatus while I do a 6-week compositing contract. But then it'll be back with a revamped beginning, 12 pages, and also new updates.
Excellent. You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL, where I tweet about politics and health and anime. You can also follow at Mortified Pod on Twitter. It's another podcast that I do with my friends.
Nope, that's this one.
Nope, you're right. Shit. What's the other one? Fuck.
MBMBF.
At MBMBF and me that I do with my friends where we review Christian media, which I'm recording immediately after this podcast.
Oh, shit.
So I will be talking about the 2004 film Saved, which was astonishingly produced before Mean Girls because they have some crazy similarities.
I was literally just about to ask if that episode is up, so you let me know when that goes up.
Yeah, excited. Depends on how quickly I can edit it.
to rip.
Yeah, but I think I have a pretty good closing quote.
It's real good.
There's just some things even a good pooping can't fix. We'll see you all next week.